This plaid shirt design took at least an hour to complete. I started by entirely coloring it this shade of blue. It's that color over there. And I did the same for the sleeves. Although, for some reason, the black marker I used to outline the sleeve somehow ended up being significantly wetter, so I, at one point, ended up blending this part with the light. I believe it was this one, the one I used for the vest. And then it was a sort of last-minute decision to add in buttons, since vests have buttons on them. I did the blending in order to give the impression that the vest is dirty in spots because of being a cowboy. I drew in the revolver, and then it was one of Dad's suggestions for me to draw in a sheriff badge. And I did this while listening to parts of The Other West More on YouTube. And then I drew in this pocket. Even though most likely I wouldn't be able to draw in a pocket for this side, and I probably wouldn't want to because I don't want to make this area too complicated. I did the work from the morning until I recall the evening, roughly speaking. We didn't go outside until about 4 to 5 p.m. And when we went out during that time, it was in order for Dad to take me out for more driving lessons. This is some chicken and some corn. Today we focused on turning in such a way that, turning in such a way that I make sharp turns in order to stay within essentially the non-parking spot lanes within the high school parking lot. I ended up making some somewhat chaotic turns in my mind, but in reality, that was what was necessary in order to make quick, sharp turns. Kind of using my hands to quickly rotate the wheel and then straighten it back out the other way. I had to be pretty quick about it. So once I realized that, I went from struggling to doing a pretty good job. All that matters is improvement, and that comes from deliberate practice. And my dad has told me that getting a lot better with my detail. The last thing I worked on before we went for those driving lessons from Dad to me was the back of the belt. I decided to give a silver belt connector. I'm thinking of adding a holster for a Bowie knife. At some point within the back of the belt, or the back of the pants, but it would have to be on one of the sides in order to make it reachable by one of the hands. Dad's considering getting either pylons or cones. Because at times it can be a bit hard to tell exactly where he wants me to go. Though I do always try my best, and that's what matters. There were some cars, just a few, within the parking lot, off to the sides, and a few came in while I practiced turning, avoiding the actual parking spots to an extent. Essentially pretending they already had cars in them. And a bit of parking practice too. I think I did okay for someone who's just learning that. Dad said that they must be doing some kind of basketball practice. I believe we did driving lessons until roughly 5:15 p.m. Which is when we then went to Salvatore's again, because on Tuesdays they have their $10 pasta special, where you also get some garlic bread with the $10 pasta dish special at no extra charge, since it's part of the deal. I in particular did what I've always wanted to do to an extent. Excuse me. I got spaghetti for my pasta dish and got Alfredo on it, as well as meatballs. I wanted to get spaghetti because they're the kind of noodles you can slurp up to an extent. Essentially because of how long they are. Yeah, I eat them by twirling them with my fork, similar to this one, except I believe it was it was similar to this one, only obviously not exactly the same. And after twirling the spaghetti, I essentially cut it with my teeth while slurping it up, although I didn't make much slurping noise since I wasn't eating something like ramen, where it has significantly more liquid in it. I managed to get the research points, the knowledge points, to be eligible to upgrade the Dwarven Bulwark. So I decided to shift my attention towards the Tomb of Secrets. This echoes of the Forgotten, the evolvable building, and thank goodness it's an evolvable building and not a building set. Unfortunately, for the time being, it produces just gold. But luckily it's got a switchable production, so at some point it produces something other than gold, which is just as good because I already have too much gold, as you just saw. Eventually, most likely, I'm just going to have it produce knowledge points, since that's more useful to me. I have a strategy of having just some of the workshops put some of the workshops on this production period, since some task sets require a certain number of these to be produced, then some on this production period, and then finally the rest on this production period. Although some task sets require these production periods, but in those cases, I can just simply wait for the bread workshops to finish producing. These are the basket of groceries ones. I'm not entirely sure what I'm gonna spend my next city expansion on. Although, if I want to be able to complete the whole chapter, I'll need to figure out a way to get the space for the full level 4 campus instead of the level 2 campus I currently have. Around the time we got that pasta dish, a bartender who's seen us regularly gave me a surprise fruity cocktail. As Dad suggested, I say to Abby, surprise me. Though Abby gave me that surprise fruity cocktail before I said anything. Only Dad really said anything of a surprise, although that is ultimately what I wanted. And this is the prize minigame they have for the Buried City event. And this is how it works, essentially. It's all better that these pop-ups appear on the web version, since I never intend to play this game on mobile. I always intend to play it on web. I like that they have this sort of tutorial. And that should generally be enough to get me started, although this isn't the first time I've done this sort of thing. I've been playing this game for at least a year. After finishing the surprise drink, of which the bartender brought in the cherries later, which I then added to the top of the surprise drink, I got my usual Moscow Mule, essentially, that I presume was flavored with some flavored flavored vodka. Yeah, flavored vodka. And around the time I had the Moscow Mule, Dan and I made our usual secret order of fried dough. It's something you can get, but it's not officially on the menu at the Salvatore's we go to. The fried dough has powdered sugar and a bit of cinnamon, though it's mostly sugar. Because too much cinnamon can infamously make you cough and end up spitting it up. I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do for the pants of the cowboy styrofoam drawing, but I'll figure it out along the way, as I have so far for what I've done with it. And there was a point in which I felt a bit scared because of Russian troops moving into the separatist areas of Ukraine, but I'm doing okay now. Dad in particular at Salvatore's hadn't really heard of anything regarding Ukraine until I told him about it there. And he had exclusively beer, just as he usually does at Salvatore's.